Yeah, we're gonna have a little fun with this one. So this will be a little change.
You can scream and shout with all your might.
You can whine, you can cry, you can scream like a little girl. Nobody really cares.
Dig in your heels and hold on tight.
If you're an animal rights wacko, you can go spray green dye on a little seal.
Either you are wrong or I am right.
Don't forget the ever-present third possibility. You are wrong and I am right. Welcome to another edition of Stating the Obvious, brought to you by the Cynical Libertarian Society. I am, of course, Skippy. In the control room is the lovely, the adorable, the charming, the Republican, but we love her anyway, Randy. Stating the Obvious brought to you by the Cynical Libertarian Society. Did I say that already? Am I already repeating myself? See, it doesn't take long for me to start going cyclical. Today is still the 5th of April. We are on the recording marathon. It's 9:45 in the AM. That's 9:45 for you military personnel. We are continuing the assault on utilitarianism, though we're going to deviate a little bit in this one. The email address is sto@204eastsouth.com. So in that last little bit where I was talking about men, women, and abortion, that reminded me of this book that I just got from the library. I have not started reading it yet. I've read a review about it. It sounds very interesting. It's called Adam's Curse by Brian Sykes, S-Y-K-E-S. He also wrote the book The Seven Daughters of Eve. It's that thing about how they managed to trace the mitochondria of everybody back to 7 different women who can be traced back to one particular woman from Africa, which of course, I read something about this the other day too. Where the hell was it? I can't remember. Anyway, this is why, of course, whenever you're filling out your little ethnicity check boxes, we can all check African American, because we all descended from people who lived in Africa, which of course will piss people off to no fucking end, which of course brings you to the point of, so how far removed do you have to be from your African ancestors to be considered African American? Because we're all of African descent, which of course they'll tell you, wow, that means that's for people with black skin. So, oh, that's racism. Yeah, it's the whole African American checkbox thing just kills me. It's all racism, because we're all African Americans. Anyway, his what's the word I'm looking for? The theory he's putting forth in this book is that the male is what's the word I'm looking for? Redundant, is unnecessary, is due for extinction. Some of the controversial, in reading from the back of the book, let me just read from the back of the back of the book here. The back of the book, if I can talk. In Adam's Curse, Brian Sykes, one of the world's foremost geneticists, investigates the possibility of a man-free future. Women, of course, will be celebrating to hear this, right, Randy? Randy's like, oh yes, no men. Wonderful. How is it possible that the Y chromosome, which separated the sexes and allowed humans to rise to the apex of the animal kingdom, also threatens to destroy sexual reproduction altogether? Sykes expertly guides readers through decades of advances in evolutionary theory and eons of life on Earth to find the answers to this paradox and the questions that inexorably, if I can talk, follow. Some of the controversial topics that Sykes examines includes, is the Y chromosome's instability to blame for steadily rising infertility rates? Are the male trademarks of greed, aggression, and promiscuity genetically based? Does a male homosexual gene exist? Can anything be done to save men from a slow but certain extinction? So, we'll find out, I guess. Like I said, I haven't started reading, haven't read a single word of the book yet. I just opened it. Y chromosome. Okay, now I have read a single word from the book. So I have not started reading yet, but I'm looking forward to it. Sounds very interesting. Personally, I don't care if the male is due to extinction or not. I mean, it's not going to happen to me in my lifetime, so who gives a shit? I know, I'm not supposed to be that way. I'm supposed to care about the future generations. You know what? Fuck the future generations. What have the future generations done for me? Not a damn thing. You know, if 10,000 years from now the world is only women and there's no men, I really couldn't care less. That's their problem. Or maybe it's not their problem. I don't know. You know, the argument is made. Maybe the argument is often made, you know, the world would be better without men if it was only women and run by women. I don't know. Maybe it would. Who knows? Maybe they'll get a chance to find out. I don't know. I don't care. I know that makes me a bastard, but who cares? Why? So in the previous editions of Stating the Obvious relating to utilitarianism, we have examined why utilitarianism is a failure as a moral theory in a number of different cases. This brings us to the question, why do some people cling so desperately to utilitarianism if it is, in fact, such a failure as a moral theory? Well, the first reason that this happens is, of course, stupidity. Never, ever underestimate the power of stupidity as a motivation factor for humans. I always say that if you want to know what really motivates somebody to do something, just follow the money trail. And this is, for the most part, true. But the other thing you can follow, and always be guaranteed to arrive at the correct conclusion, is simply human stupidity. Human stupidity is, of course, the greatest power in the universe. Second reason people cling to utilitarianism is elitism. Utilitarianism supports the idea that there are people out there who are smart enough to be making the decisions about what's right and wrong, what's going to lead to the greatest amount of happiness for you, and that this can be done in an unbiased and scientifically certain manner. And that's something elitists cling to, the idea that they can make your decisions for you. And utilitarianism is the theory that not only can they make your decisions for you, but these decisions are based on reasonable, calculatable, if I can speak. These decisions about what causes the greatest amount of happiness are made on a reasonable, scientific, calculatable, reproducible, scientific basis. I said scientific already. I just go around and around in circles, don't I? So, elitists cling to utilitarianism because it supports their belief that they can tell other people how to live their lives. Reason number 3 why people cling to utilitarianism, did I mention stupidity? Some people are just stupid. Reason number 4 is utilitarianism justifies giving more power to the government. There's a lot of people out there, believe it or not, who think the government doesn't have enough power as it is. Now, these people call themselves progressives. I, of course, call them communist. Under utilitarianism, the government is supposed to figure out what makes everybody happy and implement this. Utilitarians / communists would love for the government to decide what makes people happy and implement it, as long, of course, as the government is deciding that the things which make people happy are the things that these progressives / utilitarians / communists want to be implemented, such as, free abortions. Well, abortions paid for by my tax money, and not eating meat, and banning tobacco, and all these other things. The 5th reason people cling to utilitarianism is stupidity. We can't forget stupidity. But now, the 6th reason, and this is only a theory, I could be wrong. That's a joke, because as you all know, I'm never wrong. I could be wrong, but I think a big reason why people cling to utilitarianism could be stupidity. But now, all kidding aside, actually I wasn't kidding, I was serious about the stupidity part. The main reason people who believe in utilitarianism cling to utilitarianism so desperately is, of course, animal rights. We are going to get to animal rights in the next section, next sections. We'll see how long the animal rights parts takes. But right now we're going to talk about, we're going to have a little fun. We're going to go off on a tangent. A couple of tangents. We're going to talk about Spear, and we're going to talk about the teaching assistant for the class, Chad. And I don't necessarily mean that in a bad way either. Spear is hilarious. So, we had, and this will be discussed later, so I'm just going to gloss over it. We had the mandatory class session where we had to watch all the stupid PETA films and all this other stuff. And after sitting through all this propaganda about how evil it is to eat meat, Chad told us a little story about how he was sitting in a bar and a couple of people, I think it was 3 people, he said, walked up to him and asked him to come outside. And so he did, thinking he was going to get his ass kicked or something. And as I recall him telling the story, I hope I'm not wrong on any of this, they were animal sciences majors, and they simply informed him that they thought the presentation of this material in the class, because they had taken the class, was incredibly one-sided and biased. And I agree, the way that was presented in the class was incredibly one-sided and biased. Let's see, that's not what I'm looking for. Flipping around on the computer here, here's what I'm looking for. So anyway, at the end of the PETA propaganda session, it was said that if we had anybody we knew from animal sciences who wanted to come to class and debate this, that we should feel free to bring them along. So I wasn't sure how the next class was going to go, if there's actually going to be an opportunity for a stand-up debate or whatnot. And so I had sent Chad an email asking him what the plan was. And this is the response that I got from him. Chad wrote back, I'm not sure we made any I'm not sure we made any explicitly, that is referring to plans for the next class. Just presenting the information, some have presenting the information. Some have taken a bit of an exception in the class and claimed that it was one-sided. Just want to make sure everyone gets the chance to hear every possible view. I can sorta kinda imagine what folks would mean by another side. I'm just not sure the arguments are actually arguments. Righto. So let's try to put this in a little context. Some have taken a bit of an exception in the class and claimed that it was one-sided. Well, it was one-sided. It was excruciatingly one-sided. Up until this point, Spear had been doing, I think, a very good job of teaching the material and playing both sides. As soon as we hit utilitarianism, read animal rights wackoism, because utilitarianism in these classes always degenerates rapidly into animal rights. And we'll get to the whys on that a little later. But I mean, up until this point, he'd been doing a very good job, I thought, of being objective. And as soon as we hit utilitarianism / animal rights wackoism, he instantly went from teaching to preaching. I mean, the class was excruciatingly one-sided. But now, what's interesting here is the second paragraph of Chad's response. Just want to make sure everyone gets a chance to hear every possible view. Okay, and that's good. I appreciate the fact that he's wanting everybody to hear every possible view. And he writes, I can sorta kinda imagine what folks would mean by another side. I'm just not sure the arguments are actually arguments. So you can kinda sorta imagine that somebody might have a different opinion than what's presented in these 15-year-old PETA films that come from, days and days of footage which was recorded over God knows how many months or whatever, and then edited to find the very worst of the worst. He can kind of sort of imagine what people might mean by another side. He's just not sure their arguments are actually arguments. Now there's a great elitist utilitarian way of, my brain just totally cramped up there because I was trying to think of the right word. There's an illustration of the exact type of elitist mindset I'm talking about. I'm not sure the arguments of what he's saying here is, I'm not sure that the arguments of people who disagree with this are actually arguments. I'm not sure the people who disagree with this actually have anything to stand on. I mean, this is almost as arrogant as I am. Almost. Not quite as intellectually arrogant as I am. Because, and you see here, this is why I can't stand these people, because they're these elitist intellectual people who think they're always right, but they don't even have the spine to just come out and say it. I, on the other hand, I do. I will happily admit to you, as you all know, that I'm right and you're wrong. If you disagree with me, you're an idiot. At least I'm honest about it. I'm just not sure the arguments are actually arguments. No, believe it or not, people who disagree with you, their arguments are actually arguments. I mean, even I will admit that people who disagree with me have valid arguments sometimes, and I'll pay attention to them. I think they're wrong in the end, but holy crap, what was that? The wind just blew something around. But even I will admit that sometimes they have valid points. So I found that level of arrogance to be annoying in that it's coming from somebody who's supposed to be teaching and is supposed to be presenting both sides. Because remember, in a classroom environment, the lie that is presented is that the instructor is supposed to be presenting unbiased, objective material. And, excuse me while I drink coffee. At the beginning of the class, I think it was interesting because Chad announced that we as students would not be able to figure out what his personal viewpoints were or what the personal viewpoints of Spear were, because these things were going to be presented objectively and from both sides and all this other stuff. And I'm not sure if he's stupid enough to believe that, or if he thinks I'm stupid enough to believe that. And don't misunderstand either. I'm going to say harsh things about Chad and probably about Spear too. And don't misunderstand. I have nothing against these guys personally. I mean, I would happily go to the bar with either one of them and drink a beer and talk about philosophy. I'm sure they're very great people. Personally, very likable, very intelligent. And just because I'm going to sit here and bitch about the few times they've done things that piss me off, that means the rest of the time they're okay. And you have to consider, if the things I'm bitching about are the only complaints I have, then obviously they're doing pretty good. So I'm not trying to demonize these people by pointing out their faults. I'm just, keep in mind the few things I'm pointing out are the only things I can find, so they must be doing all right overall. Where was I in my train of thought? Oh, thanks, Randy. So my story was, which has a point, my story was at the beginning of class, Chad told us that we would not be able to figure out what his or Spear's personal opinions were. And that's a little insulting to me, because he must either be stupid to believe that, or he must think I'm stupid, or the class is stupid. Because when you're teaching your class and you present one side of the story and you show PETA propaganda films and you have a PETA poster hanging on your door to your office, I think it's pretty obvious to anybody who's not completely stupid what your opinions are. And to tell me that you're going to be unbiased and objective on something like this when you're clearly not is just insulting. Hang on, I gotta flip over and look at my updated notes here. I talked about that. So preaching versus teaching, I pointed out that Spear stopped teaching and started preaching when we hit this, and he's certainly not being objective about that. I mean, but he's a good instructor, and if you go to CSU, I'd recommend taking his class. And now this brings me to some funny stuff here. There is a website for rating the professors at CSU. It's www.ramratings.com. If you're a student at CSU and you don't use it, you should go over and check it out. Spear has a number of reviews. I want to read, I think, 3 of them that I picked out that are really funny. Here's the first one. This person writes, "How people cannot love Spear is beyond me. Possibly..." This is great. I could have written this. Possibly it is due to the ignorant waste of oxygen who are somehow admitted to CSU. Yes, most of you who are CSU students are wasting oxygen. That's me. That's not the author. Okay, let me just try to read this all the way through without inserting editorial comments. How people cannot love Speer is beyond me. Possibly it is due to the ignorant waste of oxygen who are somehow admitted to CSU. Yes, he is cynical, contradicts himself constantly, and will belittle people until they cry. But that is his brilliance. It is a philosophy class for the love of God. Speer himself has very few personal opinions, but he is willing to argue any side of an issue in an attempt to get anyone to think outside of the friggin' box you spend your life trapped inside. So yes, he is a mean, evil, and cynical old man, but if you listen not to the words he says, but to the ideas he tries to convey, you'll find he is one of the best professors at this school for challenging your mind to break out of the little dollhouse you have allowed society to box you into. That's great. I stumbled a few times because the guy doesn't use grammatically correct English and spell words right, but that's okay. I mean, it's the internet. You know, the internet is not known for correct grammar or spelling, and God knows my website sure as hell isn't, and who gives a shit. But I love this little phrase, the little dollhouse you have allowed society to box you into. It's true. And I mean, I agree. Speer is a cynical old bastard who contradicts himself all the time and pisses you off. But this is true. I mean, this is the point. It's a fucking philosophy class. Especially he's teaching as an ethics class. It reminds me of when I took moral and social problems. You know, on day one, we had to establish ground rules. You always know you're in for a bunch of bullshit when you have to establish ground rules. And somebody made the point that, well, we shouldn't say things that are going to offend other people. I'm sitting there thinking, it's a fucking ethics class. We're talking about moral and social problems. We're going to be talking about things like abortion and euthanasia. Yeah, and racism. How the fuck are you supposed to discuss something like this and not offend people? And more to the point, if you're in this class and you think you're not going to get offended by things, what the fuck are you doing here? And it's the same thing with this class. I mean, if you're in Speer's class, you know, and you think he's not going to say something that offends you at some point, then you're a goddamn idiot. I mean, he offends me sometimes, but it's good. It doesn't hurt you. You know, some people out there need to be offended. Being offended is not going to kill you. It might even make you think a little bit. I enjoy being offended. You know, even though I'm bitching about his animal rights PETA propaganda, you know, I mean, for the most part, it's okay. I mean, that's the one thing I bitch about because it was unbiased, but fortunately we did get an opposing viewpoint. But even then, I mean, if I can't handle sitting through these stupid animal rights PETA films for the upteenth millionth time, like I've never seen this shit before, then, you know, obviously there's a problem with me. You go, well, let me read some more, and then I'll get to this in a minute. Let's see. Yeah, I'll read this one. This person wrote, this instructor was an arrogant, narrow-minded, cynical... Cynical, spelled S-I-N-I-C-A-L. This instructor was an arrogant, narrow-minded, cynical bastard. He targets those who disagree with him and argues with them until they cry. Actually, I've never seen him argue with anybody until they cry. He certainly targets people who disagree with him, but again, I mean, you know, that's the motherfucking point. It's a philosophy class. It's an ethics class. You're supposed to be thinking. Is he arrogant? He is arrogant. Is he narrow-minded? Somewhat, but you know what? We're all narrow-minded. I mean, the asshole who wrote this review is narrow-minded. Everybody is narrow-minded to some extent. I'm narrow-minded. I'm a narrow-minded, arrogant, cynical bastard, too. There's nothing wrong with that. You know, I mean, the point is, you can't, you know, I love these people, you have to keep an open mind. Isn't that fascinating? Because people who say you have to keep an open mind usually have the most closed minds around. And when you say you have to keep an open mind, what does that mean? Does that mean that if somebody says, hey, we're going to put Jews in a concentration camp, I should have an open mind and say, well, maybe that's okay? You know, if somebody says, well, we're going to kill off all the black people. Oh, well, I'll keep an open mind. Maybe that's, I mean, you can't have a fucking open mind to everything in the world. That's why these people who run around saying, you need to have an open mind, to these people I say, fuck you. Now, I don't need to have an open mind, okay? There are some things that are right, there are some things that are wrong, there are some things that are not debatable. You know, a rock is hard. If I pick up a rock and hit myself on the head with it, it'll hurt, okay? I don't need to keep a fucking open mind on this stuff. Having an open mind is not this great virtue that all you dumbass fucking progressives / liberals / communists / utilitarians think that it is. Okay? Having an open mind is sometimes a really stupid thing. And see, people like this, people who have open minds, used to get eliminated from the world. Because you'd be out, a million years ago. Okay, you'd be out and you'd be doing your hunting. And you'd be stalking up on a gazelle. And you'd be thinking about whether or not that gazelle has rights. You should be going, maybe I should make a film about how terrible it is for people like me to kill gazelles and eats, and then I could form an organization called PETA, and we could run around telling people they can't eat meat. And so you're stalking up on the gazelle with your open mind, and then you hear something in the bushes next to you, and you look. And you look over there, and out of the bushes comes a saber-toothed cat. By the way, they are not called saber-toothed tigers. If you call them saber-toothed tigers, you are wrong. They're called saber-toothed cats. Out comes a saber-toothed cat. And the cat looks at you, and you look at the cat, and you go, well, I'll have an open mind. Maybe the kitty cat wants to be friends with me. And so you go over to pet the kitty cat because you have an open mind, and the saber-toothed cat fucking eats you. So see, there used to be a system in place to remove open-minded / stupid people from the gene pool so they couldn't reproduce and make more stupid people. Now, unfortunately, we have eliminated this. We've made, little signs to help you cross the street, walk, don't walk, so that now the open-minded people don't even get eliminated by traffic, because think about it. An open-minded person is going to cross the street, and they're walking across the street, and a car is coming, and they look at the car and go, oh, why, maybe the car will stop for me. Maybe the car will harmlessly pass through the molecules in my body. Or maybe the car is going to turn, and so they'll just keep walking and the car would hit them and they'd be dead, and boom, their genes are eliminated. But no. See, we've made little walk, don't walk signs so that the open-minded people can get across the street without hurting themselves. So we've eliminated the saber-toothed cats, we've made it safe for open-minded, otherwise known as stupid people, to exist in society, and now there's more and more of them. You don't need to be open-minded, you need to have a motherfucking closed mind, because that's how you survive. Now, where's the really funny one? Oh, what's this? Oh, this is interesting. I don't remember this one from before. Alright. Hey, this is good. PL447. I wonder what class that is. Spear does not understand his own double standards. He attacks Christianity, but does not even know what Christianity is. His narrow box causes himself much grief, and thus can be quite bitter when discussing Christianity. He attacks Christianity, but by the same standards in which he attacks Christianity, his own beliefs fail. Interesting. Okay, where's the funny one? Here we go. Terrible. Absolutely the most bitter, narrow-minded man I have ever met in my life. Sad, simply sad. I would hate to be him at the end of the night. We shall see who was right when we die. Let's hope you're prepared to pay for your destruction of young minds. Obviously, this came from a Christian. His destruction of young minds. Oh, man. Great. Let's see. Yeah. Get out of your little dollhouse, as the other person wrote. It's not hurting some of these little minds to be destroyed, trust me on this. It's a good thing for you, because some of your little minds are fucked up. And, another thing that I hate and appreciate about Spirit at the same time, and we'll probably get to this when I talk about the animal rights wacko debate, but I'm going to mention it now just for the fun of it. It's his debating style. You can't, I'd almost like to debate with him, but I don't think I could do it because he constantly changes the topic. He constantly goes off on these tangents. He constantly throws things out that have nothing to do with what you're talking about, and that irritates the shit out of me. And I think the reason it irritates the shit out of me so bad is because I do exactly the same thing. I do, Randy knows, because we have to, don't I? Yeah, see, I do it in the STO. I'll be doing a stating the obvious, I'll be talking about something, and all of a sudden, boom, I'm way over here. If he and I debated each other, I think we'd probably kill each other, because we'd never be able to stay on topic for more than 15 seconds. It would be interesting. But so his debating style really pisses me off, but only because I recognize that it's exactly the same as mine, except that I use more bad language. He doesn't use the word fuck very often. I, on the other hand, use the word fuck like 3 times in every sentence. So, other than linguistic skills, we are very similar. Alright, I think that's enough of that. We are going to get ready now for the next, it might be time for breakfast too. It's 10:15. We are going to move on to the animal rights wackoism, and I might have to pause and go eat a dead animal. We'll see what happens. Randy, hit the music. We'll get out of here, and we will be back soon. Try to wrap this stuff up.